I want you to talk to us about this. By the way, give us a little bit of your background. Yes. How long have you served in the county assembly? And
3 years.
The great people of
3 years.
3 years.
Yes.
In the 3 years,
yes.
Tell me one thing before you give your point. Mm-hmm. What is it that you knew before you showed up to that scene, and what do you know now, and what's the difference?
I have to admit that the expectation that I had about devolution and the reality are stuck apart.
Why?
Of course, when you're out of office, you have some lofty ambitions. But when you see you take office, and you have a lot of constraints in terms of resource and the capacity, of course, you will have to scale down your ambitions. So I think, and that's something which probably is even applicable at the national level. I'm sure you know the manifesto and the philosophy that was driving the Kenya Kwanza team, and the reality when they have assumed office are quite different. But I want to speak from a practical point of view.
Actually, just on that point,
yes.
if you, with your indulgence,
yes.
I would like to put it to you and to everyone that that what you're describing as lofty ambition,
yes.
that optimism
yes.
that you had when you were walking into office,
yes.
when you're vying and campaigning,
yes.
I dare say it's the very same hope that Kenyans, millions of Kenyans have in their leaders, in this system. And the disappointment you feel can only be magnified a millionfold by the people that are saying all those dreams, all those hopes that we had are just vanishing into thin air. Yes. So talk to us about the practicalities.
Okay, I want to speak from a practical point of view on devolution. Yes, and I want to take an example of my county.
Right.
I was lucky because I was also in the first administration, 2013 to 2017. In terms of size, Wajir County is about 58,000 kilometers squared. That's 1/10 of Kenya. When devolution came into place, we only had one medical officer in that county, serving the population in 58,000 kilometers squared. Currently, we have 60 doctors. We had health staff of about 200. We now have about 1,100 medical staff. We had about 40 boreholes. We have upwards of 400 boreholes. The total civil servants in the county of Wajir when devolution was kicking in, was about 600. We have close to 4,500 staff in the civil service currently. So from a practical point of view, Wajir has witnessed transformation as a result of devolution. And if we take this from a historical perspective, we inherited a constitution from the colonial government that was federal in nature. There was a devolved form of governance. And then around 1965, the people who are now complaining about whether devolution is working or is not working, whether the counties are too many or so, this notion came in around 1965. And the people who wanted to centralize the governance structure of the country started talking about the cost implication of the Majimbo states. And in 1965, they abolished the Majimbos. And in 1966, the regional assemblies were also abolished. And then we became a unitary state. Just around 1966, or I don't think it was, I think 1965, there was this paper which was called Sessional Paper Number 10, which came in with the idea that the state will pour into resources to productive areas. And large parts of the country were now marginalized and they were excluded from development.
Because they were deemed to be unproductive.
Unproductive. That is, you put resource, there was not much that was coming out of it, and because of that reason, the nation had a right to marginalize those areas. And now the northern parts, certain parts of Rift Valley were completely neglected. And that's why I'm saying when devolution was coming in, we only had one medical officer who was serving 58,000 kilometers square, 1/10 of the country. And a huge progress has been made. Now, when we see people complaining about devolution, of course, we do admit it has weaknesses. And largely what people complain about is cost and corruption. In terms of costs, I believe the benefits that devolution has brought to the country far outweighs the cost. And in any case, it's only 15% of the revenue of the nation that goes to devolution. 85% is still centralized. And in terms of the number of counties, I will tend to think that this idea of complaining about the number of counties, just the same people who are complaining about the Majimbo states and the cost, it's a desire to have these resources that are devolved, that has transformed the nation, be brought back to the unitary state so that they can be centralized. And we deny the people the benefits and the transformation that devolution has brought.
You mentioned something, and